Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Takedown, a Splitting Hairs podcast brought to you by Jackrabbit Illustrated. On this podcast, we focus on South Dakota State wrestling. Once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Jordon Schoenrock, and today we have special guest, Meredith, easy for me to say, Meredith Suess. Tonight, we're going to talk to Meredith about what she did for the SDSU wrestling program and how it led her to the job she currently holds at USA Wrestling as the national coordinator and national coordinator of regional training centers. We also recap last weekend's duels and look forward to this weekend's duels. Guys, how you doing?
Good.
Guys and gals, sorry.
I'm doing good too.
We don't often get gals on the wrestling podcast, so I'm really happy about that. I hope that someday we'll have female wrestling in the future for South Dakota State wrestling, because I think it's amazing. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our sponsors. We're sponsored by Cottonwood Coffee, and we're also sponsored by Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, and the original sponsor we have, one of the best places in South Dakota to buy food, a little gas station that's much more, Drake's Place in Bottle, South Dakota. Jordon, take it away.
So, Meredith, can you just tell us about yourself a little bit and how you got into the world of wrestling?
Yeah, so I come from a small town in Minnesota, and it's less than 500 people. So my brother and I, we went to school in Mountain Lake, Minnesota, and we just started, small town, you're involved in everything. My dad wrestled in high school, so that's how I got into the world of wrestling. So my brother started when he was 3, and my dad coached him on all the way through high school. So I say I was born and raised through wrestling.
So, and you were a high school manager all through middle school and high school, right, for your dad?
I was a high school manager for 6 years.
And then you decided to come to SDSU and continue doing that?
Yeah. So just looking at colleges, I wanted to make sure I felt at home. That was a very big thing. And SDSU really provided that. I felt with being in a very small town, Brookings didn't feel as big to me. So it was perfect. And I also knew the campus because of FFA from high school. And when I got there, it was Bono was still the coach. So I knew him from camps when he would come to my hometown, and he actually reached out to me about becoming a manager there.
Nice. Outside of wrestling, is there anything else you like to do?
Yeah, I love hanging out with friends and family. I go deer hunting with my family back home. I love going fishing. Basically anything outdoors is what I like to do.
Are you a rifle deer hunter or more of a bow person?
I am slug.
Slug? Oh, legit.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not really a deer hunter at all, but don't you only get one of them at a time? So you got to be a good shot?
Yep. So I actually purchased a lifetime license before I switched over to a South Dakota residency, so I could always go back home hunting in Minnesota. And now with being in Colorado, I can still go back home hunting with my dad. So it'll be pretty nice.
So boys,
I ride motorcycle. Oh, sorry. I ride motorcycles. Kill all the deer, please. I don't want to hit one. They're dangerous.
They are.
I was gonna say, boys, watch out. She can hit on the first shot. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, she don't need extras. So your degree is from SDSU. You were saying beforehand that you got a master's. You want to tell us about that a bit?
Yeah, so I graduated with my undergrad in 2021 in hospitality management with 3 minors, which were management, events and facilities administration, and then recreation. And then I'll actually be graduating with my master's this May in sport and recreation administration.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So now you've moved on. You got a job again. Congrats on that. Working
Thank
for
you.
USA Wrestling, which is awesome. Hopefully, the people that watch this know what USA Wrestling is. Tell us maybe a little bit about how Colorado is going, and then maybe the biggest differences that you see between Brookings and Colorado Springs down there.
Yeah. So it's going great here. I mean, everyone at the office is very welcoming. When I first started, I got thrown into tours right away. So we sent people to France. They just came back this week from France, and then they're going to Croatia. They leave tomorrow, actually. So like just all that, and then everything's going great with it. We're just planning everything, and I will be attending the Senior World Championships in September in Belgrade. So that will be
Cool.
really exciting. And a lot of the difference that I've noticed with Colorado Springs and Brookings is the driving in the snow. So I learned that they do not move snow unless if it's over an inch here. And I look at them and I'm like, you are crazy. So we had 2 days where we had 2-hour late starts last week. And I got into the office and everyone looked at me and they're like, Meredith, you think this is a joke probably, don't you? And I'm like, yes, it is, because there's nothing on the ground.
I was like, an inch isn't that much, right? Like around
Yeah.
here, we don't do much with that.
Yeah. So people don't know how to drive in the snow out here. I will say that. Like,
In Colorado? That's
yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's like being in the South.
Yeah. So, and I will say, like, the snow is different. It's wet and heavy here. So, but we do have that at home sometimes. But they see, because I still have my South Dakota plates on my car. So they see, like, oh, out of state person from South Dakota. Let's follow her. She knows what she's doing. You just have like a line of cars. And I'm like, okay, but just like don't go too close, because like there are some slick spots because it's so hilly here that people love to ride your back bumper.
Sure. What kind of car you rocking out there?
I
'Cause
have
in
a
the
Ford Edge.
hills. Ford Edge, that'd be a good car out in the hills.
Mhm.
When you get an elevation, you lose a little horsepower and you kind of need a little more oomph, it seems like. Sounds like they got you really put to work right away there. You didn't really get a second to orient yourself. It was right to task.
Yeah, as my boss Cody Bickley says, I'm drinking from a fire hose right now.
Yeah.
So no, it's going great. Like we had camps these last few weeks too, so those went over very well too. So I got to meet all the guys. So I'm in charge of men's freestyle and the Greco-Roman team. So I got to meet both teams when they were here for camp.
Nice. So like when you say you got to meet the teams, like, is that just how many weights is there for the world teams?
7.
7. So is that like just them 7 wrestlers, or like is that anybody that's training for Team USA at the time?
Anyone. So it can go down to, so like they go 3 deep in each weight, but there's people that come that aren't a part of the national team either that come to train.
Nice.
So, and it's at the Olympic Training Center is where they all are.
So is that a pretty nice facility then?
It is. I will say, because they have like boxing and swimming and gymnastics, like everything is practically there. I got lost with where to park because I didn't know where the building was. So,
is everything in a different building then, or?
Yeah, so they all pretty much have their own building.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a fun little thing.
How's the USA wrestling facilities compared, say, to the new wrestling facility at SDSU?
Well, I'll say the ceilings here are a lot smaller than SDSU's wrestling facility. So, and there's a lot more natural light at SDSU's. So,
and it's marginally better than the old SDSU wrestling room.
Oh yeah, the old one was very yellow.
Just for our normal listeners here, I got to ask this question because Cade complained about it last week. Are there a lot of bikes at the Olympic Training Center for the wrestlers to work out on?
I believe so. I didn't actually see all those. I just saw the the mats. So I was only in there for like maybe 5 minutes to meet the Greco team right after practice because they had an earlier practice that morning. And then men's freestyle, I met them in a conference room before they had practice.
Nice.
So I have to ask, what's your favorite style of wrestling? Like, I mean, I'm assuming you know plenty about wrestling, so you probably have one you like the most.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one. It's between folk style and freestyle for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Greco's not your thing as much.
I understand it. I mean, like the throws that they do, it's pretty awesome, but it's not as much action as folk style or freestyle. So
makes sense.
Mhm.
I would tend to agree with you. So yeah, I mean, folk style's kind of my favorite. Freestyle is cool too. The rolls and stuff, getting points for that. So
yeah,
I gotta say it's impressive for a girl to say something other than folk style, because that's what we all grow up with and understand, like one that doesn't compete.
yeah.
So what are some funny stories or your favorite stories that you've had being a statistician for SDSU wrestling team?
Oh man, yeah. Think about that one.
we like the funny stories, so you know. We don't have to be 100% PC on this podcast. You know, there's been a curse word that's came out a time or two. So
yeah. Well, let's see. One that always comes to my mind was when we were actually at Mizzou last year, and there's this huge slope that we had to go down and up with the bus, and that's how we entered into the arena. Well, we took a bus, so we had the cooler and everything. So the other manager and I were normally always in charge of the food. Like we normally don't ask the guys to help us because we don't want them to worry about it, but we do ask them when we need to. Cody and Damien were really nice enough to carry the cooler down for us so that we didn't have to worry about it with the slope. But then when the duel ended, I was the one that ended up pulling that cooler all the way up. And let me tell you, that cooler is heavy. And it's not an easy cooler. It's huge. And all the boys are just laughing as they're walking by. And they're like, Mary, are you getting a workout in? And I'm like, yeah, you want to help? And they're like, no.
So nice, our team. So nice.
But they do help quite a bit, though.
It's kind of like a brother-sister love, wasn't it? You were almost like a sister to all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I was there before all of them. So
yeah, that's true. So was this kind of one of your dream jobs? And if so, why was this kind of like a dream job for you?
Yeah. So I didn't know like where I wanted to end up within my second year of college. So like partway through my sophomore year is actually when I decided like, okay, my dream job is I would love to be with USA Wrestling. I love the sport so much that I just want to keep seeing it grow and helping everyone with how much like I love the sport and everything. And when I found out that there was an opening, and it was actually not for the position that I have right now, it was with the events department. And I was interviewing and everything, and it came down to 2 of us, and it took them about 2 weeks to decide who they wanted. And that's when I found out after I got here that the guy named Pete, who was doing the hiring, he went up to Cody Bickley and was like, hey, like we need to have both of these. Like, which one do you want? Because then I'm taking the other because I can't hire both of them. So that's how I got introduced to the position that I'm in today.
So then is the other girl or the other person that you were going to hire, did she get hired for the other job then? Were you guys both out there at the same time?
Yep. So she actually started at the beginning of December in that event assistant position.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys get along good? And is it you guys kind of lean on each other so far to learn things out there a little bit?
Yeah. No, like we're the same age. So it goes great because there's not many young females in the office. And so they were actually really excited to see that we hit it off really well.
USA Wrestling is going to have a few female wrestlers out there, right? So,
Yep.
so you'd be able to interact with them probably and maybe form some friendships. I know some of them are pretty excellent wrestlers. I've enjoyed watching them, when we had the Olympics and stuff. So pretty cool to watch some of them wrestle.
Yeah, and I just met Jenna was it a few weekends ago? So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So while you were at SDSU, I know that you wore many hats. And I mean, when I was writing for the paper, I'd always go in and meet with Damien, and it seemed like you were always in there running around. He was sending you to the grocery store, doing something for him. Did you help with recruiting at all?
Pretty much. So like on recruit weekends, I did the photo shoots.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I would help with breakfast in the mornings. So like those are normally Saturday mornings. So I would help with breakfast, and then a lot of I was in charge of photo shoots for him.
Nice. So when you did that, did you ever talk to him and tell him why you think Brookings was a good place for them to come wrestle, or why you would choose SDSU if you were them?
I mean, I talked with them, but a lot of times they were intimidated. So, I mean, they never really spoke with me. So, I mean, you'd get the few that, they're talkers, they will talk your ear off. And then majority of them were so shy because it's there's this female in here. I don't know what to say. I don't want to embarrass myself. So.
Who was the talker amongst the group that we have currently? Did one stand out? Do you remember? Spill the tea, as they say.
Yeah, the Espinoa twins, they were really talkative ones.
Really?
Yep.
Cool.
They were actually really fun to do photo shoots with. So when we do the photo shoots, the boys that are their hosts that weekend do the photo shoots too. So then they get everyone interacting. So that's really cool.
And they're seniors this year, right? They're not on campus yet.
Yeah. So I believe they'll graduate high school this year. If not, it's next year. I got everyone so mixed up with what grade they're in.
With the COVID year and stuff, that throws everything way off.
Oh,
right? Yeah. So being around wrestling as long as you've been, I'm assuming you've wrestled a bit yourself?
My brother and I did. So in youth practice, I'd always wrestle with my brother sometimes. And then well, they say that he let me, but I say that I beat him. So you got that. And then we had a wrestling mat in our basement at home.
Sure. So do you have a favorite move then? One you like to see, maybe? One you like to do?
I always liked the fireman one because that one was always cool, with taking photos too. So
fireman's scary, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, with this job that you're on right now, has it been everything that you thought it would be so far with your job out there, or has it been overwhelming? Or I know you said that it's like drinking from a fire hose, but towards your expectations, how has it went?
It's been going great. So it's pretty much what I expected. It's a lot more than what I expected too. So with working with them, I also do a little bit with women's freestyle. So I help out Jamie McNabb. She's the senior manager for women's freestyle. And she's actually the one that's been training me on everything. So I help her out. She helps me out. So it works out great. And then it's just learning a bunch of different things. So there's a lot of extra things that go into international travel that you would never think about. So we also have deadlines with getting people registered for tournaments. So we can't do it a few days before. It has to be weeks before, and it has to make coaches decide, okay, these are going to be the travel dates. So pushing them for that. And I mean, with getting the hang of it, it's going a lot simpler now and able to plan accordingly with everything. And now we have camps coming up, so I get to learn the process of dealing with camps too.
Speaking of getting trained by someone else, were you able to at least train a little bit your the person that took over for you at SDSU?
Yep. So she was actually with me for a year. So she was with me all last year.
Okay. Because it sounds like you're a person with many hats and many talents. Photographer. It sounds like the list is quite long of all the things you did. Manager's just like a overall term. That means you do everything, right?
Yeah. Yep. I worked a lot with Terry and with all the coaches. So
somebody mentioned on Twitter this week that one of their favorite things is when and I don't know how much you catch all the Twitter stuff, but someone mentioned, in the background of AJ's pin was the kid Damien's kid jumping up and down with foam finger, just going nuts. And they're like, this is the best thing that's in this video. I can't see anything else. So I'm assuming you got to know those kids pretty well.
Yeah. Yep. I got to know Luca and Miles very well. Like when they came, they were a lot younger than like what they were. So seeing them grow up and everything is amazing too. And them taking in the sport of wrestling and figuring out who their dad is. It's pretty cool to see.
And I think
it was Luca, for the record.
Yeah.
It was Luca that was jumping, and I think it came from Clara.
It did. It came from Clara.
Which
of course, that's who it was.
Wasn't she kind of? Wasn't?
Is she what?
Was she there before you? Wasn't she the one that kind of took you under?
So Clara never trained me. So I met Clara through SDSU Wrestling, because she would take photos for the team.
Oh, she just did photos.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I thought she did more than that, but I guess not.
Oh no, but we love her photos. Her photos are amazing.
She is a very good photographer.
Did you get a chance to watch the Jacks this weekend?
I did.
Okay.
It was a different view, let me tell you.
So you're watching on Flow then, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Flow's kind of... I mean, I'm glad we have something with wrestling. Flow, I have... Anyway, we'll get away from that.
Yeah, there's times with the Wyoming duel where the camera was a little slow, and I'm like, oh, okay, just go a little faster. I want to see that move.
Yeah, right.
You can't tap into the iPad or something like that. You just watch from that.
Or else I could just be like, since I know where the girls sit, and I did take a photo of them and actually sent it to them, and I'm like, I see you guys, like you all are looking great. And so
that's awesome. Yeah. And we talked a little bit before, but my understanding is you're going to be able to catch the guys live this coming weekend.
I am. So I actually will be there tomorrow in Greeley to watch them against Northern Colorado. And then Sunday they are at Air Force. So that is just right down the road.
We're maybe jumping a little ahead, but tell me the matchups you're looking forward to on those two different duels.
Oh, with Northern Colorado, I will say I'm really looking forward to Clay's match against Keith. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on
Alirez.
Yes.
Alirez. Yes. Yeah. I will help you. You have it pegged. So
yeah.
I knew you knew what you were talking about, obviously.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that one. Like that will be a great matchup. And then with Air Force, I am actually really looking forward to the heavyweight match with AJ and Henderson.
Yep.
Oh.
We'll be talking about that later, so you can chime in then too if you'd like.
So what are you currently working on right now at the U.S. training facility?
Yeah. So the office is like 15 minutes from the training center. So in the office right now, I'm working on, we just finished up everything for Croatia since they leave tomorrow. And now it's looking at Egypt, which is at the end of February. And then Bulgaria is at the beginning of March. And then Turkey is a week after Bulgaria. Okay. So Croatia is the first ranking event for them. So there's a big delegation list for men's freestyle, women's freestyle, and Greco that's going. And then Egypt is our second ranking event. So that's going to be another big one.
And do ranking events, is that how they seed for things, or like for the Olympics, or how does that all work?
It helps you towards it. A big part that really helps you is Worlds, of course. So I'm learning all the ropes with what helps them. So
Well, I mean, you said it's like drinking from a fire hose, so I'm sure you're, there's a lot that you're not getting, but you'll
yep.
get there, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So you're living in Colorado Springs then?
I am.
And have you been there before outside of work, or your new work?
I came here with SDSU a few years ago when we wrestled Air Force.
Okay, so have you got a chance then to see the chapel on the campus on base?
No.
Do you know about it at all?
Mm-mm.
Oh, so if you ever get a chance, there's a world famous chapel on the Air Force Base. It's designed and built out of aluminum, and it's supposed to look like F-16s set on their tails.
Oh.
It's really cool, and in between each section, they have like stained glass. So I know they do tours, so I don't know what you got to do to get on base, but I went there when I was a Boy Scout a long time ago, and it's pretty cool. So might want to check that out if you're looking for something to do down there.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, I already checked out Garden of the Gods when my parents and my brother helped me move out here because that's less than 2 miles from my house. So
I think they also have a mountain that has like NORAD or something inside of it right there too, that is like non-penetrable by like nuclear bombs and stuff. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of a cool area. It's real pretty.
Yeah.
Have you got to get out and explore, or like just like enjoy the town at all, really, or have you just been too busy with work?
Not fully. I mean, with schoolwork and work, it kind of keeps me busy. And then when I'm home on the weekend, I don't want to leave. So, I mean, I got to see quite a bit of it when my family was here. So, like, we just drove around town just to see like what there is. So,
Did you so you said with schoolwork and then work on top of it, like, are you getting any breaks since you're finishing your masters, or are they still full throttle with you there? Like, you're running on hardly any sleep trying to get these last couple months done?
I mean, they're very understanding. Like, they check in with me and are like, hey, like, how you doing? How's everything? Are you finding everything okay? How's your class going? So my two bosses, Jamie and Cody, they're like really taking care of me and making sure that I'm set with everything if I have any questions, or like with schoolwork too.
What's kind of their background, do you know, Jamie and Cody?
Yeah, so Jamie, she's actually been at USA Wrestling for over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So she was there and then she left and then she came back. And she's actually from Iowa.
We'll forgive her for that. No, there's nothing wrong with Iowa. We love Iowa people too.
Yeah.
I say wow, but at this point, I'm old enough. 20 years ago, I can remember quite well. So it doesn't seem like that long ago.
Yeah. And then Cody wrestled, and he grew up on a ranch, which I just found out that he used to bull ride, which I never knew. So.
Have you ever been to any of the rodeos, like up at SDSU at all, or?
Yep.
Not. Yeah. So you like rodeo a bit too?
Yeah. So I know actually quite a bit with rodeo too. So.
Probably more than me.
I'll
just leave it at that.
You're a girl of all talents, because if I remember right, didn't you like run the shooting club or the trap club on campus too on undergrad? And
yep. So my senior year in undergrad, I was the president of the shooting sports club and president of the hospitality club.
So did you guys shoot in the basement of Depew, or did you shoot downtown then?
We shot out at the Brookings Gun Club.
Oh, at the Brookings Gun Club. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And so I know you know your way around a shotgun, obviously, but do you like rifle, shotgun, handgun? What do you prefer?
I prefer a shotgun. I mean, I did 3-gun competitions too, with shooting sports. So that was very interesting because it's with a rifle, a pistol, and a shotgun.
What do you shoot with? A Benelli, a Mossberg, if you're like me?
I have a Remington 1180.
Nice.
Yep, right, it's semi-automatic. So.
What's your favorite thing to hunt? Just the deer, or do you like doing birds as well?
I mean, we go pheasant hunting too, so I do that. A lot of times, when it was like my dad, my brother, and I would take a gun. But if there's like more people, I normally got put in charge of the dog, which I was fine with. So
You just manage everything all the time, don't you?
yeah, and I mean, it was majority of the time our dog. So
What kind of dogs do you guys run?
we have labs.
Labs. Awesome.
Yep.
Best
Ours
dog.
at home right now. He'll actually be 16 in May.
He probably doesn't go in the field much anymore then, huh?
No, he has really bad arthritis. He can barely make it from the kennel to the house.
That's always sad. Yeah.
But he loves the winter because it's cool on his joints.
Right. Yeah.
So
You gonna start applying for some elk tags out there now and get your dad and brother to come out elk hunting since you're out there now?
yep, I was told I have to. I mean, they're a lot easier to get here than in South Dakota, is what I've been told. So.
Do it in the winter and bring a sled. The size of elk is no joke. Don't underestimate them. They're not just a big deer.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah.
Not as big as a moose, but still.
They're so big.
Yeah, very large.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that your dad and brother and you have on the hit list now that you live in Colorado to hunt?
Right now it's elk is what I've been told. And like my uncles and some of my cousins that hunt, like they're like, we'll come out too. Like let's make a whole thing out of it. I'm like, okay.
They have a cat season out there? I mean, I really don't know anything about Colorado that way.
Yeah, I'm possibly. I have no clue.
Yeah. I know we do in South Dakota, but
yeah.
Which is strange to think 20 years ago, we basically didn't have any mountain lions at all.
We claimed we didn't have any mountain lions at all 20 years ago.
Okay, but when I was a kid, there really wasn't any, right? But now they're all over. So
yeah.
Well, we didn't really have elk either, so
yeah,
kind of crazy.
Just like we supposedly don't have no wolves or bears out in the Black Hills either.
Oh yeah.
Well, we don't have any bears, but they did once upon a time. Anyway, we're kind of getting off topic. That's okay. Do you want to go through the upcoming events and kind of do a recap of last weekend with us? Would you like to stay on for that?
Sure.
All right, Jordan, you lead it off.
Okay, so last weekend, Friday night, the Jackrabbits took on Utah Valley. They won the duel 29-12, and that improved them to 8-2 and 2-0 on Big 12 for the season. There were some big matches. One that we highlighted. We even had him as a special guest on the show before the big match last week. Was Kay DeVos, and we'll let Chad go on about how that match went.
Yeah, I'm sure Meredith probably has an opinion on that a little bit too. He wrestled Demetrius Romero, who number 7 in the country, and gosh, Cade wrestled him really tough, but we talked about it on this podcast, and I don't assume that you watch our podcast, but you're probably gonna chime in and agree maybe or not. That's up to you. But one of the things we talked with Cade about is like, man, if you could get into your offense quicker, score some points early on. He does such a good job, Cade does, with scoring, and it seemed like he was a bit hesitant, and in the end, it was 4-2. He could have got another takedown or 2, right? He would have won the match. So I don't know if you were able to see that on your end or what your thoughts might have been on that match.
I don't know. Like Cade at first, like he was looking really good, and then I'd have to agree, like he was very hesitant. But when he finishes his shots, they're so clean. They look really good. So when he does that, that's what's going to keep getting them to score.
Yeah. So score early, score often. Yeah. Come on, man. We're pulling for you. Yeah. I don't mean that in a negative way.
I know that
it was a good match. Yeah.
I know that Chad had a conversation with Jeremiah after, and I had a conversation with Cade after, and I think I said it to Chad, and I don't remember who I said it to, but these top 5 kids at 157, they better watch out, because Cade's an ounce of confidence away from being able to knock these guys off in the conference and national tournament.
Mm-hmm.
An ounce of confidence and about a minute of extra scoring.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't really mean to pick on you, Cade, but gosh, bud, if you just could score earlier, I think you could pull off some of these matches. It doesn't matter what these guys are ranked. You're better than I think you might even think. So
So, we obviously lost 3 matches that duel. We lost that, or 4 matches total. 3 other ones than just cage. We lost at 157, 125, and 141. The 125 was kind of a shocker in my opinion, but I think TJ knows what to do, and unfortunately some kids are kind of catching him right now, but I think that'll be quick. I mean, the Clay match, he, as Damon said on Sunday, he's going to set him down. He's going to rest him for a while. I don't know if that's true or not, if he'll be back tomorrow night. I don't know how you don't send him back out tomorrow night, but I also get that you need to, like, if something's wrong, you need to get it right. And then 157, that was just, or no, it was 174, not 157. Sorry about that.
Well, Cade used to be 157.
Yep.
That's where I think the confusion comes in, which is, and we talked about it with him about that, is that's a big jump between those 2 weight classes,
especially for college.
Yeah. I mean, that's a serious amount of difference in weight. So we won. We had wins 149, 9-7 in overtime. That was a great gritty match. 157, we got the tech fall. 165, Connor got the fall. 184, we had a 3-2 decision. 197, Sloaner got the pin, which is awesome. You know, that's a 455 in the match. 285 was kind of a tough go, you know, 2-0. He really made him wrestle there, and then at 133, we also had a 5-0 decision. So pretty good overall, but like Damian said, he didn't really feel, and I kind of went away, came away feeling the same way, that as a whole, the guys did good, but didn't feel like they wrestled their best. I think that's fair. Don't want to be overly critical. You know, it's easy to sit in the sands and say that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we never know what's going on in their heads. It's like, I've been a part of this team this was my 6th year, and you never know what's going on in their head because they don't talk about it.
That is very true. I know that I actually got a text from Terry on Sunday thanking me for what we do on the podcast and everything. And we kind of had there was a comment about Friday, and we had a little discussion on it. And like I told her, I said, it was disappointing because we knew what they're capable of. We know how they shoot, how they wrestle, how they finish, and that just didn't happen. But to the average fan, you can't look and say that was a disappointing outing at all.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it, Jordan. I agree with that 100%. It was disappointing that it wasn't what we know it could be. Right.
Yep.
I mean, anytime you hang your head on a 29-12 victory, like, who are we? Do we forget that? Like, not to be mean, but did we forget that just 5 years ago when Damien walked in, the cupboards were dry? Like, how do we hang our heads on stuff like that?
Yeah.
And I think that starts at the top with him. The expectations are here, you know, and when we're not here, anything less than that, we're not satisfied, right? So then we go on to the next match, the next meet, I guess, if you want to take over, Jordan.
On Sunday, SDSU wrestled Wyoming, and they came out firing a lot better, in my opinion. Came away with a 42-3 win. Our big highlighted match that day that we talked about was going to be Cale Swenson looking for redemption over Jacob Wright. Jacob had got him at the Soldier Salute earlier in the year, and he kind of ran from him, the word on the street was, and they just felt like that's a match that Cale would win if you could get him in the right spot. And Cale showed up and did exactly what he needed to and came away with a 3-1 win. And he made sure to tell everybody that it was on his time now and everything else. And he controlled that. He controlled the running, so that didn't get going there. And that was a great match there. And it really got Frost going pretty good, I feel like.
Well, and I don't know about you, Meredith, but I said this to Jordan, so you wouldn't be privy to that, but I said it at the meet. I was like, man, every time I watch this kid step on the mat, it's like he takes another step and he gets that much better. This kid's really good, and the sky's the limit for his talent. I'm really impressed by how he wrestles.
Yeah, he improves himself every time he steps out there, and that's great to see for Kale.
Yeah. Really love his wrestling. So then at 125 was another one we were highlighting. We lost 7-1 to a kid that we recruited. That's one of the he's tough, right? Yeah. And lower weights we're kind of scrapping there hard trying to get those wins at the lower weights these days.
Yeah.
So
we finished out the duel with 9 straight wins that night then. At 133. We got the pin at 5 minutes. Clay got a gritty 6-5 win, got put on his back for 4, showed that he had the mental toughness on Sunday and kind of decided he was going to do it and got off his back and came away with the win. Alec Martins majored the kid for the second time this year. We already talked about the 157. 165, Connor once again doing Tanner Cook things as Tanner Cook's backup with a 2-minute 20-second pin there. Cade bounced back with a huge 19-4 tech fall, put the kid on his back long enough that I could even scream "stick your tongue out" because I thought that
he had him. We both agree he had him pinned. The ref wasn't in the right position. That's a young ref. We had the same ref all weekend, and I mean things like that happen. So,
and then at 184, you had Cade King doing Cade King things. Gritty wins again, 6-2. At 197, I called this before the match even started. I looked at Chad, which had no clue who Cody Donnelly really was before the match.
Not entirely true.
Ladle time.
you did say that, and that was I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And it was funny because we're sitting by the wrestlers and they're cracking jokes the whole time. I know that doesn't surprise you at all, Meredith.
No, not at all.
Guy's like, that's a tall drink of water. He got on top. He's riding the guy, and I don't know if it's the same guy or not. He's like, he's like an anaconda on top. Everybody just lost it. It was funny. So kudos to whoever the guy behind us was. He was sitting in the middle there. You may know who it was. I couldn't tell. It's dark and I'm half blind. But yeah, what'd you think of that pin? Like that, I thought that was great. I mean, one of the better pins I've seen.
Yeah, so like the flow camera was in like the perfect spot. So like I actually saw it coming before he probably did. No, like it was really nice. And for Donnelly being a redshirt freshman, that's huge.
Someone was telling me, it probably was you, Jordan, that he had originally came to SDSU to be on the football team. Is that correct?
I believe so. Meredith probably knows the story a little bit better than me, but that's what I've heard.
You should tell that. Go ahead. Tell the story.
I don't really know the story. I just know that that's what he did.
True. Okay. Well, it did look early on. So to Jordan's credit, he said he's going to get him in a split. And I'm like, okay. You don't see that frequently, right? And he kind of had it right away in the first period. I think it was the first time the guy was getting in on him. And then they kind of got out of that position. And then, obviously the rest is history. He got it later on when the guy shot on him.
Yeah.
So we got guys that are like Tanner Cook. Don't shoot on him, right? Like,
don't get under him.
Tanner's going to get you anyway, though. So, but now we got another guy at 97. You have to wrestle that guy. Go ahead and shoot at your own risk.
Yeah, being 6'7" has its advantages there.
Usually for basketball, but I'm all for it in wrestling.
Yeah.
That guy's fun to watch. Really fun to watch.
He's on the lineup. He got to travel with the team this weekend, too.
Awesome. Well,
so that'll be a fun one to see if he gets, depending on dual scores and how everything's working out, if he'll get to get a match or not out there. And then we ended the duel at 285 with a pin by AJ. I would say that I don't know what to say. AJ's a pinning machine this year. I don't know if anybody's seen it on Twitter. If you follow it, T Cook called out AJ last night. Try and catch me if you can.
Right.
He said when they tweeted out, or Jackrabbit Wrestling tweeted out the pins or whatever for every weight, and Tanner Cook better watch out because AJ is on a roll right now with his pinning times and things like that.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. I don't know about you, Meredith, but I kind of always have a favorite wrestler, and for me, it's usually their heavyweight, just because that's what I like. I identify as a fat man, and I know they're not fat, but they're the biggest guys, so there's a difference. I'm not calling AJ fat. I am extremely overweight compared to how thin he is. Do you have one of the guys that you like to watch the most? I mean, I'm sure you like them all, but there's got to be one of them. And I guess you can pick Tanner Cook because he's exciting, but that's probably a cop out a little easy. Anybody else?
I've always had a favorite wrestler, but I have never told the boys because I don't want them to know.
And so you won't tell them on this podcast, but you'll tell us afterwards.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I don't want them to know.
You like them all.
If they're listening, they might be asking me tomorrow now.
I got a feeling you don't have much to worry about.
Yeah.
As I say this, they're probably all sitting in the hotel room right now in a team meeting, watching it bored in Colorado or something.
Probably because the Jackrabbit Wrestling Twitter did like the post. So
yeah, I don't know who runs that account these days.
Coaches and managers.
Yeah, coaches and managers. Okay.
Mainly Cody is the coach.
So I got to ask you, Meredith, do they love you enough still, or have they kicked you off all the social media platforms when you left?
I'm still on them.
I figured.
If you had something worthwhile, I'm sure they wouldn't mind you posting it.
Yeah. I mean, with Facebook, like you guys probably see, there's a lot of people that go on there that post like links that try to get your credit card information like they're fake. So just helping delete and report those. So I'm getting the manager there. I'm trained in with how to do that from here. So I tell her, I'm like, hey, I just saw that this got posted. You want to do this? So then she can take care of it.
I mean, for anybody that doesn't know this, like you're talking to a true backbone of SDSU wrestling right now. This girl was amazing for the team, and I think Han and all of them would stand there and say the same thing, but she's not unfortunately, she got to go live her dream job, but unfortunately they also lost her probably a semester earlier than they ever wanted to either.
No, I was very sad to leave them, but like I'm also so excited to start this job because I didn't know when this opportunity was going to come again. So when we told the boys, because we did not tell them right away, we waited. It was actually the Wednesday before finals. So it was in between competitions and everything. So like we didn't have to worry about that with the boys. So we told them then that Nebraska was going to be my last duel. And they all just looked at me like deer in the headlights. And I actually started crying. So for me to cry, that was huge. But no, like so we told them, we're like, okay, now y'all just need to make the world teams and then you get to come see me. So no, and I'll still do a little bit with them. So I'm in charge of the regional training centers too. So I deal with their applications and then making sure like they're set.
And I will say that I've had conversations with some of the wrestlers that you're coming on today. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of them glad that we were having you on. And they're like, we miss her and we haven't talked to her. Like, we need to talk to her. And I'm like, well, you guys are going to Colorado. So yeah, you guys will probably see her.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know because they never told me that they missed me. Or I will say like majority of them didn't even say congrats. Besides when I told them, they all clapped and that was all.
I mean, we're talking about wrestlers though, right? Tough guys that don't want to show any emotion. And you've been around them long enough to know they're a complex, unique sort of person.
Yep.
So,
And I've been around them long enough that I'm like, I know that it's going to bother them because some of them avoided talking with me.
yeah, they just didn't want you to see them probably,
Yeah.
have those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worse when you're a younger man, right? Like,
Yeah.
you
Let's
gotta
be
feel
real.
like you're gonna be tough. Like,
Yeah. This is no offense to that gender, but they're boys. We expect.
yeah, it's fair. If you're under 25, sorry, boys, you are a boy. When you get to 25, you can be a man.
Yeah.
I was no different, and I didn't realize it till I was 25. So,
Mhm.
so we also had the Worthington Open this last weekend. We had a
Mhm.
couple champions, Caleb Tennis and Roman Rotsky.
Rogatsky.
I always get that wrong.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I get it wrong too. I have family with the last name Rogatsky, and he corrected me when I said it that way. He's like, "No, it's Rogatsky," and I'm like, "Okay, I got it."
Well, it's just like your last name. I wasn't going to get that right if I didn't ask. I
It's all
would
right.
not have said cease. Second place, we had Kale Winia. It's one of our heavyweights. I guess we go by 285 these days. I'm a heavyweight. Because I'm old, I guess. Right. And then what else do we have, Jordan?
Brock. Oh, I don't. How do you say this one? Meredith, you know?
Fettig.
He got third at 174. And then Ryan Dolzel got sixth at 165. And I got to apologize right now. For some reason, when I was doing my live tweets and everything, Ryan can 165 weight class, and Ryan completely passed me. So I never did tweet about him on Saturday. And then I was looking today to do the thing and seen on gojacks.com that he placed sixth. And I was like, I feel horrible now about that. So sorry about that.
So yeah, when we got the upcoming duels, like you pointed out, Greeley, Colorado, easy for me to say, Northern Colorado. They're 10-2, 0-2 in the Big 12. That's going to be 7:00 Central Time. So that'd be out there. I think that's going to be 6:00 Friday. That's available on Flow Wrestling. And what we have tabbed is marquee matchups. One of them's number 10 Clay Carlson versus number 1 Alirez. And we talked about that, and these guys have wrestled a bunch, right? Yeah. And it's always really close. I know Coach Han stated that, he was not going to wrestle Clay, but do we think it really happens, or is Clay going to go?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
During the Utah Valley match, it looked like Clay's leg, and in this case, I think maybe ankle was bothering him. He was hobbling a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that while you were watching. You probably did because you're a manager. You probably noticed more than I do. You noticed that then, yeah?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. So, I mean, I'm so happy that no one was here when I was watching it, because I was on like the edge of my seat during like majority of the matches. So,
are you one of those people that leans like me?
It varies. So like when Clay got put to his back, I was hardcore leaning, and I'm like, oh my God, like no.
He got way up on his bridge and on his head. That was impressive.
Yeah.
I did not I thought he was cooked. He did such a good job recovering from that.
Yeah.
I was
Clay's very flexible when it comes to defending.
I had about a probably 30-minute long conversation with Clay on Sunday. Well, 2 separate conversations that ended up being about 30 minutes long. And I know that Clay's really looking forward to this match. He's 2-1 on him in his career. Clay's beat him twice, lost to him once. Clay straight up told me on Sunday that, he got rid out the one time he lost. Got rid out for 2 minutes. I think it was the whole third period. And he's like, I know better than to make that mistake again now. He's like, and if I don't make that mistake, I think I'm 3-0 against him in competitions right now. So that should be a pretty interesting one.
And that was last year at Frost, right? The ride out match. I can't remember which one that was. I think he lost at Frost, didn't he? I believe
he was either at Frost or in the Big 12s, I think.
Yeah, it was one of them.
Yeah.
I think it was the Big 12s, because I think he beat him in Vegas.
Oh, I think
beat him in Frost and then lost to him at the Big 12s or the NCAAs. I don't remember which match, but I think it was the championship of the Big 12s or semis of the Big 12s.
I know wasn't in the championship for Big 12.
I know Coach Hahn and their coach are know each other real well and are close that way, but I remember their coach losing his mind on the sideline about something, and it might have been that. Like he was really up in front of like our fans, like in the middle of the mat, and yeah, I just distinctly remember that about that match. So
that coach doesn't sit still in his seat; he's always moving. Let's be real.
Are there many coaches that do though?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to ask who, but do you have a least favorite coach that we wrestled against? And why is it NDSU?
Well, that is one of them. That's real. Let's see. I don't know. There's quite a few of them that I don't like. So
just because they're the opponent, right? I mean, that's the only reason.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Not because they might go ballistic at all. So
you don't
coaches
like
are usually wrestlers too, so
Yep. I mean, now with the job I have to be civil with everyone. So we'll see.
Yeah, right
on. And then another highlighted match at 125, we'll have Tanner Jordon versus Steve-O Poland. Steve-O is ranked 10th. Tanner Jordan's ranked 30th in this week's polls. So that'll be another tough weekend for Tanner. He's kind of in a tough place to try and break out of a slump right now, but I think if he can get a couple third periods, he can grit them out and get back to himself.
At 157 pounds, of course, we have Cale Swenson's ranked number 19th in the country, and he's wrestling number 31 in the country, Vinny Zerban. And like I was saying earlier, Cale just gets better every time he gets on the mat, in my opinion. And I think Vinny's going to have himself a tough match here. It's not going to go well for him. I predict that. So,
at 174 will be our last ranked matchup of the night, or potential ranked matchup of the night. That'll be Cade DeVos, 15th in the country, taking on 30th ranked Barisa. I don't know. Sorry. We're just going to call you Andrew right now. So Cade versus Andrew. Andrew's ranked 30th. It'll go back to, we talked about it last week on the show. Cade does not have an unranked match the rest of the season. Yeah. So he's going to have to show up and wrestle.
You got anything you're looking forward to on this one other than seeing the guys, obviously, Meredith? Is there anything else any other marquee or matches you'd like to see that we didn't call out here?
No, I think you guys got them. I mean, my bosses are pretty cool. They're letting me leave work tomorrow to make the 2-hour drive. So
it's 2 hours. I was going to ask how far it was. That's about what I figured. You go up the interstate and then go, I guess, east.
Yeah. So right? I don't want to take the road that goes around Colorado Springs because that's a toll road and it's going to cost like $12.
Is that how much it is these days?
Well, that one is.
No.
So I mapped out a different way. So like I've been watching like with what the traffic's going to be and like what the best way is going to be so then I can get there the fastest. And I mean, it'll work. I mentioned to Cody about taking the guys to Garden of the Gods since it's a national landmark and some of the guys that don't get to travel can actually see it because it's supposed to be really nice out here on Saturday. So
meanwhile, it's supposed to be cold as all get out here, which I know probably doesn't surprise you. No. But it might be a little bit more like home when you get out to Greeley because it's pretty flat. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different scenery than Colorado Springs.
Yep.
So following that, we have Air Force. They're 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the Big 12s. That's noon Central or 1 Mountain in on Sunday. That'll be also on Flow Wrestling, as most things are. And we got a couple marquee matchups on this one. And I'm going to let you take the first marquee matchup because you already called it, right? So go ahead, Meredith.
Oh, with Henderson and AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a good match.
So we got number 5, Wyatt Hendrickson, right? I think it's Wyatt. And then AJ Neville's number 13 in the country. And AJ's just wrestling so good right now. Yes. I would love to see him get this guy. When they wrestled the last time I watched, It was a really close match. And AJ wrestles different style than most heavyweights, so I think he proposes
Yes.
some challenges that the other heavyweights don't. He's quick, agile, can move really well. I guess that's agile, same thing, but you know what I'm saying. And can shoot. I mean, things that heavyweights just don't do.
Yeah, he's
And
not a normal heavyweight. He's always on his toes.
right, always on his toes.
Makes the match interesting, and like you never know what's going to come from him.
I think he's just got to try and get offense right away. I mean, that's my, I don't know, uneducated plan for success for him. Like, I'm sure the coaches, they always have game plans for these guys, and I don't know what theirs is, but if it was me, I'd be like, man, see what you can do to get him on his heels. Maybe do some ankle picks or something to keep from getting squashed by the guy, but get some offense going.
Yeah.
And then another ranked matchup will be at 174. As we just talked about a minute ago, Cade DeVos continues his ranked kids, and he'll wrestle, I think it's Sam Wolf. I think I typed that wrong. It popped up on my notes as Sam Wolf, but I'm pretty sure it's Sam Wolf that he wrestles.
Yeah, so that'll be a good match for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on how Cade's really developed as a wrestler? Obviously, he's changed in like stature and size. Have you seen much? I mean, he's always been talented, right? But he's changed a bit, right, since he started?
He has. He's changed a lot over the few years that I've seen him. Like, starting off, like, he's just this small kid that came in, and now he's all the way up to 174, and like you can really see how much he's improved on his technique with finishing shots, which when he, like I said earlier, like when he finishes them, they are really nice and clean. And when he takes that shot, that I've gotten to know, like, okay, if he's taken like a nice deep shot, he's gonna finish it. If he doesn't, there's times where you question, like, Cade, like, you got to finish this. And then there's times where it's like, okay, I don't know where it's going to go, or it might be stalemate again. But no, he's like improved a lot as a wrestler here at SDSU. And I think that has a lot to do with our coaching staff too.
Yeah, he came in with a lot of raw talent for sure. And it seems like it's just been refined. Kind of like what we're seeing with Cale Swenson, like just getting better every time he goes out on the mat.
Yeah.
So then after that, we've got on 125, we'll have Tanner Jordon. He's got to wrestle a guy that's, ranked more or less the same. They have Tanner at 30, and it's Tucker Owens that he's wrestling at 29. Really would love to see him get an opportunity and get a win here.
At 165, we're sending both Tanner Cook and Connor Gaynor out there. Tanner Cook is ranked 14th in the country. We obviously know how dangerous he is. SDSU fans found out how dangerous Connor is last week. And one of them will be taking on the 31st ranked guy of Giano Petrucelli. I don't know how to say that.
Petrucelli, maybe, huh? What do you think, Meredith? You think we get a pin at 165 no matter who we send out?
I think so. I mean, Connor Gaynor kind of proved himself this weekend. That completely shocked me. I will not lie. Friday when it came out, I'm like, holy buckets, he just pulled a Tanner Cook here.
Well, again, we sit kind of with wrestlers, and I always got my ears on, and one of them's like, you think he's going to pull out some of that crazy stuff he always does in the room? I heard him say that, and then like, boom. And I was like, well, these guys obviously know how this guy wrestles,
Yeah. I mean, like, there has been a few times like where I've seen when I was in the practice room taking photos, you get to see like kind of the quirks that the guys have, especially the ones that are coming in or the ones that you don't see wrestle as often. And he's one that has some quirks to him.
After that, we got at 184 pounds. Cade King obviously is going to be wrestling. He's ranked number 17th right now, and he's going to be wrestling a Noah Blake. So I think hopefully we can get some bonus points out of that match.
Yes, and then they are also ranked at 133 and 149, if I remember right. So Air Force is a very talented team. They are very ranked, but they're all low ranks. So we need to show up, put our nose down, and do our jobs. And I think that if they do their jobs both times, they'll be 2-0 on the weekend, and we'll continue our undefeated ways of 2023 and our undefeated road duel streak.
Yeah.
Also.
So one thing to think about maybe that we haven't talked about at all, and Meredith can probably touch on this. I don't know if you've had, if you work out a lot yourself or not, but down there you're in elevation quite a bit more than like Greeley. Is that something you think that might be a little bit hard for our guys to adjust to, or are they getting in, you think, early enough to be able to kind of deal with that? And if you experienced any of that yourself?
I think they'll be fine. I mean, it takes a few days for it to like really hit you, is what everyone here has been telling me. And with living here, they said it takes your body a month to get used to it. So I will say it's really hit me. So I live on the 3rd floor of my apartment building, and it's all outside stairs. There's about 50 stairs coming up. So I am out of breath when I hit that top of the stairs.
Yeah. And you, unlike me, are youthful and in shape. So, Jordan, why don't you take the next thing that you wanted to talk about a little bit? Yeah, here he is. See, look at him. he's got a little bit of a soapbox. So I'm going to set your soapbox out here for you. Go ahead and get on it, sir.
You guys, I think the most disappointing thing that of last weekend, I don't care what you say, is who we wrestled or what this was, the attendance. And it's
good.
hard to go off on people on this podcast because the people that are listening to this podcast are the people that are at the duels. I mean, you guys are saying hi to us. You guys are talking to us. So it's hard for me to really complain here, but they say one thing that we always say in racing is bring one friend to the race one night so then they fall in love that they bring a friend the next night. Like our average attendance right now is 1,117. That's pretty good in the nation for wrestling. Like, I'm not going to lie. But this weekend was not very good. 812 on Friday night, 834 to Wyoming on Sunday. I actually expected Wyoming to be about in the 600s after seeing Friday night's deal, just because of church, noon duel, Sunday, you have all your AAU tournaments and everything. Our biggest crowd that we've had this year was Minnesota. We had 1,603 people there. Like, you guys, them 1,603 people, if you left that duel and said you weren't coming back because we lost, realize that we lost to the number 11th ranked team in the country. Our 2 losses on the season are the 11th and 12th ranked teams in the country right now. And both of them were matches that were duels we could have won if one match would have went our way. We had to win one more swing matches than we needed to. And with that, I mean, let's just look at this team right now. They're on an 8-match win streak. Our dual scores are 296 to 42 since the start of 2023. Like, this team is exciting. They're putting up points. They're showing up. Like, you ain't going to get a better thing to do for $15 on a Sunday matinee or a Friday night. Come support these guys. There's 2 more duels left, and they're going to be 2 great duels. And honestly, I know they don't throw out Big 12 champions, but these 2 duels, if this weekend goes right, them 2 duels go right, and we go to NDSU and do what us Jackrabbit faithful think we'll do at NDSU, like, we have a chance to go undefeated in Big 12s this year.
Yep.
But we need the people in Frost Arena for the last 2 duels of the year to give us the Frost magic that we need to do it. If we could get 3,000 people on to Oklahoma State, would be the best thing in the world. Even if we got 2,000, we would be good. But these boys need us, and these boys deserve us. They're busting their butts. Let's show up. Let's show out. I don't even care right now. Like, It's $15. Everybody spends $15 more stupidly than that. Come enjoy these boys one time. If you've never been to a wrestling match, you're going to enjoy it. We're a fan base that knows a lot that's going on. When we cheer, you cheer. Can't always, I guess we learned on Sunday that you can't always listen to me. I always would say listen to me, but I got a little confused on a stalling call, but that was because I thought it should have went the other way. And I kind of went off on a tantrum and then realized that, wait a sec, they called it on us and not them. But I mean, made up for it when I yelled out the time and got Coach Hahn's attention to know exactly how much time needed to be on for ride time and everything else. So I got a little redemption there just because I know the wrestler said that was my proudest moment in life. I figured I better bring that up too. But
it was pretty funny. Maybe you heard it even on Flow. Jordon, because they didn't start the clock on time because he called it. Well, what happened is the ref called a takedown and then waved it off.
Yeah.
And then
I saw that.
You saw that? So yeah. Jordon starts counting in his head, I guess.
Well, the ride time was still going.
Oh, that's true. So you knew
so
where it started.
I was watching the ride time because they did it right. They never took the points off. So the ride time went, and then when the match stopped, they took the points off, but then they had to figure out how much ride time. Because we'd actually got a takedown in the middle of that. So I knew 21 seconds.
Yeah, when there was kind of a break in the match, Jordon yells, 21 seconds! Just that's all he yells, and Hahn throws his hand up like this. He's like, yep, we know, thanks.
And that's the one thing that you don't see on Flow is the ride time.
Right.
Or the time with the match.
Yeah, they should fix that. But again, that's what I feel about Flow.
Yeah. Also to throw out with Okie State, we have not hosted them since 2018.
Right.
So this is huge. I wish I could be there.
And people that know wrestling, this is a very marquee matchup. This is one of the top programs historically in the United States. Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, Oklahoma State, Penn State. Those are the big dogs, right? I mean, we have a chance to really take it to them too. So, man, it's Friday at 7. Couldn't be a better time. I wish we'd do away with the set Sundays, but that's a personal thing.
Hey, I looked at flights with coming back. So,
I mean, it is senior night, on Sunday. I know we recognized you when you left at Nebraska, but
is Frontier flying into Sioux Falls still?
I think so. Actually, round trip when I looked last week, it was $128.
Ooh.
That's cheap.
See, people, she's willing to spend $128 to come support this team. $15, you won't find a better entertainment value in South Dakota.
I'm not gonna lie. I think we should get Meredith to drop her Venmo and see if some people want to Venmo.
We show up Venmo there. Her. I think if we threw it out on Twitter, we'd probably get you $100 in a jiffy.
Hey, I'd be down for it.
She deserves to be
there. We'll talk afterwards. So that's 210. Oklahoma State ranked 10th in the country. That's like Jordon was saying, that's right where the two teams are that we felt like we really could have beat in Nebraska and Minnesota at 11 and 12. So right there, there's no reason to think we couldn't pull it out, guys. And so
it's
showing up
in matches.
Yeah. Showing up, being loud, maybe some bonus points, right? Showing up, being loud, getting those guys energized, getting some of them bonus points, that can make the difference.
And
then, like I mentioned earlier, senior day or whatever, 2/12, that's Sunday. The Oklahoma Sooners are in town at 1 p.m. We kind of had this conversation last week in the stands with some kids. Excuse me. And then looking at the roster, I mean, you got AJ Nevels. We know he's done. I believe Nick Casperson's going to be done. Cade King, I believe, is going to be done. Nothing official, but I believe from what I've heard, he's going to be done. Caleb Orris told us that he'll be graduating at the end of the year. Jacob Schoen told us this last weekend that he's going to be graduating. And I know Tanner Cook's in his last semester of classes. I think last year on our podcast, he kind of said that he didn't know if he would AA, if he would ever come back, or if he would call it a career. I mean, we all know he's getting older. That's why he's been resting a little bit. The body can't quite take it as much as it used to, he says. And I mean, these people, it could be some of their last time seeing them in Frost. And it's a good way to recognize the couple guys, Caleb Orris, Jacob Schoon, and them guys that they never really got to step out on the mat. But I'll tell you that they
put
helped
in the
the
work.
practice room build this team that we get to put out on the mat, and they deserve the recognition too.
Mm-hmm.
So Meredith, any final thoughts or questions for us?
No, not that I can think of. I really appreciate you guys having me on and talking with all this with you guys. I'll say I really miss being with the team, being with them for, this was the 6th season and everything, that it really hit me when I had to watch them on Flow from my apartment here. So now being able to see them this weekend, it's going to be pretty exciting. I talked with Cody on the phone this week, and they're really looking forward to seeing me, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. So he was also really excited when I told him that I'd be there for Friday too. And
so do you have to make the trip by yourself tomorrow night, or is your coworker going to return the favor and ride with you to this one?
she's actually going to come with me. So she had a working event that we put on here in Colorado Springs for the high schools, which I actually volunteered at the tournament. It's called the Metro Tournament. And so with them working, they're doing a half day Friday.
Nice.
And then I got quite a few people from USA Wrestling that's going to be coming Sunday to watch them at Air Force. So that'll be pretty cool.
We'll have some good Jacks fans in the stands.
Oh, yeah. They all know who to cheer for. So I looked at all of them and I'm like, y'all are not going to be cheered for Air Force. You're cheered for my team.
Already winning them over out there. Well, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate your time. And when we end here, just hold on for a few seconds if you would.
Sure.
And with that, Jordan, you ready?
Yep.
We'll jacked on 3, yeah?
Yep.
You count us out.
1, 2, 3, get jacked.